Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do another little watercolor landscape for you. I've been really into these for about a year now, maybe even a little bit longer. And I like doing them in all different sizes. This one here I have a little square, it's probably a 2.5 by 2.5. Then I've done some that are a little bit more rectangle. So just cut your paper whatever size you want. If you're trying to fit it in a certain frame, obviously cut your paper down to the size that will fit your frame. So I've got my Winsor Newton watercolors. I've got them in my palette. I bought these on Amazon, I think a little over a year ago, and they're just ceramic palettes. So I've got one for my cool colors and I've got one for my warm colors. And I've got my Grumbacher paintbrushes. I'll let you know what size I'm using as I'm going along. They're probably going to be a little bit on the smaller size just because my paper is smaller, so it's useless using a huge brush on a small piece of paper. And I've got my watercolor brush pens, which I love using. I've got my Tombow brand and I have my Arteza brand. So I'm going to be using a little bit of a mixture of my watercolor brush pens and my regular watercolors. All right, so to start my little landscapes, I usually just take a pencil and I just kind of map out where my hills are going to be. I usually start with some hills. Like on this one here, I started out with 3 hills. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make a little hill like this. And I'll do another one here. And here. And then maybe I'll do one that's just kind of like that. All right. So then I'm gonna pencil in also where I want my, because with watercolor, you have to leave the white of the paper showing forever wherever you want your highlights, or if let's say I want to pop in a house here, I obviously want to leave that white. If I wanted to pop in a tree here, I'm going to have to leave that white. So I do want to map out a little bit of where my my subjects are going to go. So let's see, I'm going to have maybe a tree right here. And let's put a house. I love doing these little houses. Let's do the house right here. So I'm just gonna make it very, very generic. And I think I'm gonna want a moon. I love doing suns and moons in my landscapes. So I think I'm gonna do a sun or a moon, depending on which way this painting goes, right there. And you know what, let's add maybe another little house right here. Maybe just a little one. And then go ahead and lighten up your pencil marks and get rid of the pencil marks you don't need. This one is my Tombow N25. It's like a black. And I just want to make the roof of the house. And I'm going to bring it down this way. And I'm going to fill it in a little bit, but I still want some of those highlights showing, or not even really highlights, just lights and darks of my colors. So don't fill it in all the way if you want some lights and darks. And I'm going to put in my little window. That's about all I'm going to do with that. And I'm going to grab my green. This is a Tombow 249, if you have the Tombow brand. Tombow likes to number its colors, and Arteza likes to actually put names to its colors. So, actually, you know what? We have to go ahead and do the roof on this house as well. So let me do the roof on this one. I'm gonna make this hill green. House. And I'm going to just do lines going down this way because I want some lights and darks again. And let's see, maybe I will do more of a purpley color. This one is 636 on this hill. Go around the house again. Now, if you want bushes or something in here, you know, leave some white space for them. Actually, I'm going to go this way. leave some white space for them. Otherwise, I'm really big on my collages right now, and I've showed that in a lot of my videos. So I could just go ahead and add some little collage pieces later to my painting if I want to add more depth. Like, let's see, let's just do this one. So I did like the trees in the background, but then I pulled in a house that I had done on a separate piece of paper. I had pulled in a purple tree I had done on a separate piece of paper, and I made a little moon on a separate piece of paper, and then I just cut them out and I glued them actually onto here. So it gives it a little bit more depth, a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more whimsy to your painting. Makes it a little bit more interesting. 6, 7, 9, it's like a plum. And right now it doesn't look like much, it just looks like a very elementary painting. But once you start mixing all the colors, it's just gorgeous. And I think for my moon, I'm gonna do 026. And I'm gonna come in with a shaky hand because the moon is very textured up there with all its stones and sand. So I'm gonna make it very textured. So I'm just going around. So when you start to blend this, you're gonna have all those lights and darks. Let's see, I think I want I keep thinking about orange. So maybe we'll do, this one is 925. Maybe I'll come in with a little bit of an orange sky around here. And then the trunk of the tree, I'm gonna probably just bring in my jelly pen or some white ink. So you don't have to leave all your whites. I know in traditional watercolor you do leave all your whites of the paper showing, but I'm not a traditionalist. I like to experiment and just have fun. Obviously, because I'm using these. So a traditionalist probably wouldn't be using these. They'd be using just regular watercolors. All right, I think I'm gonna pop in a little bit of this 755, which is more of a reddish pinky color, more down here. And I'm just putting it right on. So you can layer these colors too. So I'm just layering part of the orange that I just did. And let's bring in, I'm gonna bring in, this one is 055, a little bit more of a yellow. And I'm gonna just kind of bring it up like this. Let's see. And then maybe I'll do a little bit of the orange again. I'll bring in a little bit of that orange again. Right in here. So see how I'm leaving a lot of white space again. I'm not totally filling in my sky. I think I'm just gonna mimic what I did on the other side. So I'm just gonna bring in that pinky red again on this side. And you can overlap your orange again. All right, very elementary, right? It looks like a second grader did it. All right, I'm gonna be pulling in, let's see, what brush do I want? Good enough. All right, I'm gonna be using my 7. So I'm just dipping it into water, and I'm gonna start from the bottom up. It doesn't matter if you start from the top down, whatever. Your paper is flat, it doesn't really matter. I'm just feeling like I wanna start down here first. And see how you're getting all these lights and darks from those lines I did? If you don't like the lights and darks, there's 2 things you can do. One is at the beginning, if you wanted to just make your paper nice and solid, you could do that. Or 2, you wait for this to dry and then you can go over it again with the same color. Or even a different color if you want to. Doesn't really matter. All right, look how pretty that looks. And if you want to blend it in a little bit more, just kind of take your brush and just kind of move it around like that. So then that way, if you don't really like those lines, you could just move it around a little bit and you'll still get the lights and darks in there, but it won't be like perfect little lines like that was. All right, wash off your brush really well. And if this is, this hill is wet, so if you wanted to skip this hill and go to another one, if you don't want your colors to mix, I don't really care, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix and let the 2 hills blend and be wet next to each other. If they blend, they blend. If they don't, they don't. I try not to worry about that too much. Sometimes the blending looks really pretty. Sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does. So you never know what you're gonna get unless you experiment. So right now they're not really bleeding into each other, which is fine, totally fine. That's what it wanted to do. All right, so I'm gonna start adding water. Go around your house. And you're gonna just add water. You can bump up your hills to each other if you don't mind them bleeding into each other while they're wet. Look how pretty that is. I love those lights and darks. And you can always go add in and add more later if you wanted to. All right, so let's go ahead and add water to this one. Ooh, these are starting to bleed. And see, I hit the roof of the house. The roof of the house is starting to bleed too. Doesn't really bother me though. But if it bothers you, just be really careful not bumping up to that house. That's the beauty of these. You just never, or watercolor in general, the beauty of watercolor in general, you just don't know what you're gonna get. Once you add that water, you just have no idea what you're gonna get. See, look at now, this color is bleeding into this hill, the roof is bleeding into that hill. I love that look. It's just very unpredictable, very whimsical. Again, if you don't like it, blow dry it and then go on to the next step. All right, and then I'm gonna start adding water to my sky. Go around my house. I'm gonna go around my tree. I'm gonna start mixing the orange into the yellow. Now I like to work in little, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of rotating my brush in like little circles. For the sky, I just want it to feel like it's very fluffy, cloudy. A lot of texture up there. I might leave some of the white showing a little bit here. I'm not sure yet. My moon is starting to bleed into my sky a little bit. I don't really mind. You can always go in and fix it up later. Let's go around our tree. So I'm only gonna leave a little bit lighter. See how I'm getting a little bit lighter there? That's why I didn't put my marker there on purpose. I knew I wanted some lights and darks in my sky. All right, so that's just the first step. All right, you can let it dry naturally, or you can dry it naturally, or you can just blow dry it. I'm gonna add a little bit of water to my moon right now. I'm just going in little circles again. If you want some of that white showing through, then leave the white of the paper showing through. You can always use a little ink later if you really want to. And I want my moon kind of bleeding out into my sky so it looks like there's a little bit of a glow. I am going to go ahead, actually this is kind of dry, all right. I am gonna go ahead and add a little bit of my purple. Which color did I use down here? This one, the plum. I think I'm gonna get it a little bit darker down here. So see how you can just kind of go ahead and add. And I think I want to define my sky a little bit more. Let's see, is this still wet? Kind of is, but let's see what happens. There. Oh, and I got a little water drop there. See how it's gonna start making a little, it's gonna start adding some shadows to the house. I might as well just play with that little water drop that happened naturally. And you can come in. Now, if you want to leave your house white, mostly white like I do, I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm just gonna add a little bit of water to the sides here. I might want to go in and make this roof a little bit darker, like I did this one over here. And I went down to a size 0 because now we're getting into more detail. So I went down to a size 0. All right. Now my sky is pretty dry, so I'm going to go over my tree. Again, I'm just going in little circles. And let's go ahead and put some water on where we just put extra marker. All right, well, where it bled there, if you don't like that, you could just take your purple marker once it dries, add a little bit more purple there, and add a little bit water. And it just kind of gets rid of that little edge where the green grass bled down into the purple. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and dry this, and then I think I'm gonna start adding some regular watercolor to it. All right, so on my palette here, I have my Chinese white, which I love bringing in once in a while, even on my sky, just to add a little bit of like puffiness, clouds, it makes things a little bit softer. I know they usually say don't use white paint, but I do. So I'm gonna bring a little bit of that white paint right in here where I want it a little bit whiter or lighter. You're never gonna get the white of the paper back, but this does help soften it a little bit. And I'm just going in my little circular motion again, grabbing a little bit more of that white paint. Bring it up. It just kind of adds a little bit of softness to your painting. This is kind of the look you get. See all these like little blooms with your watercolor? I know that they don't like blooms in the traditional watercolor world, but I love them. I just love the blooms. It just adds so much texture and whimsy to a painting. So I'm gonna leave it like that. And I might add it a little bit more later on as well. But look at this. Look at how the orange is going right up. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but the orange is just starting to bleed right up into that white. I think that's just gorgeous. And I'm gonna put in some hills. Well, they are hills, but I'm gonna add some lines, is what I'm trying to say. Like that. Now you can go and mix it again with just water if you want to, or you could just leave it like that. I like to just make things bleed together. So I'm just gonna kind of go around a little bit and activate all that ink or paint so it just mixes together. Adds a little bit more texture. All right, and I think I'm gonna do the purple one as well. I think, let's see. I'm gonna add a little bit of this color onto this one. So I'm using this color right now, but I'm going over this purple. And I'm gonna put my lines going this way. Like that. Again, you don't have to add water if you don't want to, but I like things to look a little bit more imperfect. So I'm gonna add a little water just here and there. I'm just kind of swirling it around. Now what I wanna do with that one is I wanna add a little bit of white. So I'm gonna take my Chinese white like we did in the sky, and while this is wet, I'm gonna add in a little bit of white here and there, and I'm just dropping it in. If you want to brush it on a little bit, you can. And again, here is the unpredictable technique that I love with the watercolors. I just love all these blooms. I love all this texture, the lights and the darks. And actually, I think I might do that to my green one as well. So take a little white. Now this one might not mix as well because my paint is already dry, which is fine. You can always go in and add a little bit of water to it. But I think I'm just gonna leave it like this. So I don't have that much water on here. I only had the water from the paint on here. And I think I'm gonna do the same thing to the beginning of this hill, the top of the hill here. All right. A little too much water. And I'm just gonna kind of go in these like little line motions where I've got my lights and my darks already from my hill. So this is where the point of looking elementary into a little bit more professional starts to happen, when you start to add a little bit more of these details. I love that. All right. And I think I'm going to add a little bit darker to my tree. So I'm just taking my regular Winsor Newton, and I believe this is my green blue. So I don't know if you can see this, but I still have some little white spots showing through, and I have some lights and darks with my green. Let's see. Oh, and I want to add a little bit more. I think I'm going to add some of my opera pink. Or no, actually this is my permanent rose or opera pink. I'm not sure, because I do have one Daniel Smith opera pink in here, and I have a feeling this is the one that it is. So I'm going to add a little bit more pink down here. You could have gone in and just added a little bit more of the regular watercolor brush pen that you had used. You could do that too. So we're starting to kind of play around with the colors. We're just kind of molding them out now. Let's see, I think I might want to add just a little bit of my perm red, just a little bit deeper down here and around the house. That really popped the color. I am loving this pink up here. That is gorgeous. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more white. I think I want a little more white on that side. So my painting is still wet. So I'm just going to add a little bit more white around my sun or moon or whatever this is. Whatever you want it to be. Look at that bleeding going right up there. It looks almost like smoke. I just love it. It's just like little veins. Very soft going right up into there. So when it dries completely, I'm going to be really excited to see how that looks. All right, I want to crispen up my houses. So I'm going to take my black again. And I wanted to make this roof darker over here. So I'm going to fill it in a little bit. I'm going to bring down the side of the house. I'm going to crispen up my little window there. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of my water, my small brush again, and just fill in that little roof. Bring it down. All right, and I think I want to add a little bit of dark. I do have a darker green. You know what? I'm going to pull in a dark blue and just give it a little bit more depth on this side of the tree, a little bit more shadowing. Since the sun or moon is facing this way, I want the darker side of my tree to be on this side. And here again, I'm using my number 6, adding a little bit of water, just kind of going in a squiggly motion. And I'm kind of pulling that blue in over to the green side over here, but not completely, because I want to see some greens. I think what I'm going to do now, clean off your brush really well. I'm going to add a little bit of white to my moon. I just want to give it a little bit more texture than what it's got right now, a little more pop. So it's going to start activating that yellow. See how it's not white? It's starting to activate that yellow. Now, if you don't like that, you could take a paper towel and dab it off and soak up some of that water so it stops the bleeding, but I don't mind it. I actually like it, and I'm going to leave it. This is turning out so cute. All right, I am going to go ahead and speed up the process a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and dry my painting. Okay, so I went ahead and I dried my painting. My moon is still a little bit wet, which I'm going to leave alone. Totally fine. I'm going to let it do its thing. But I am going to crispen up the edges on my house now. You can do this one of 2 ways. You can, or actually even 3 ways. You can take your marker and just crispen up your edges a little bit. You can take some archival ink and crispen up your edges, or you can take just regular watercolor and crispen up your edges. I think I'm going to just try the marker really quick and just see what this does. Now that my sky is completely dry, except for my moon, which I'm well aware of, so I'm going to stay away from that right now. Crispen up this edge. Crispen up this edge. I love the way that the white, the white dried in here. I just find that just gorgeous. If you don't like it, you can totally skip that step. All right, I'm going to take my little brush and I'm going to activate a little bit of this black that I had done on the roof because I want a little bit of shadowing on my house. So I'm just going to bring in with my smallest brush, I believe this is a 0, I'm going to bring down a little bit of that black paint. I'm just wetting the bottom. I'm just wetting really the white paper right on the edge of the black, and I'm letting that black just kind of bleed down into here. Okay, so at this point, I am going to start adding little details with my white ink. You can use even a white jelly pen. I have an 8, a 5, and this one is an 8 as well. So let's just go ahead and we can start adding in like the trunk of the tree. Now if it doesn't work so well, which sometimes they don't, means either they're drying out or it's just not adhering nicely to your painting. I'm going to take my white, bleed proof white, Dr. P.H. Martin, and stir it up really good. I haven't used this in a while, so you're going to need to stir it up really good. It's very creamy, very thick. And I'm going to take a really tiny brush. Let's see, maybe I'll take this one. Just a generic brush. You don't want anything good for this because it is ink. So you don't want to use your really good brushes for this part. I am going to make a white trunk. You could do a black trunk, whatever color trunk you want. I'm going to leave it white. And I'm going to put some little white highlights on the side of the tree. I'm just kind of going in with a broken up shaky line. There. Like that. You can add a little bit of detail to your house if you want to. I think I might add a little white to my roof right there. Let's see. Maybe a little highlight in the house, in the window. So this just kind of punches out your painting a little bit more, just adds a little bit more depth, a little bit more interest. All right, and I think I want to add a little white fence in the background. So let's see, oh, maybe I want the fence down here. So I'm just gonna do some little white lines going down. And if your paint is just a little too thick, just add a little bit of water to it. It should thin it up a little bit. Good. All right, and let's see, maybe I want to add a few little trees to the background. Oh, you know what? I think adding a little sheep. I added a little sheep to this one, and I think they're adorable. It's really easy to make. It's just like a little white dot with a little black dot inside it. So let's go ahead and make some sheep. Maybe I'll make one. Let's just make one right here. So it's just like a little white circle. Now you could have left a little bit of your paper white right there. You could have used a little bit of Frisket right there to keep the weight of the paper. Or you could just do what I'm doing and adding a little bit of ink to it. It's almost like a little teardrop. Okay, then you're gonna take your Micron archival ink and you're gonna make just like a little circle. Like that, right in the middle of that little white dot. And then little ears. So some little ears coming off, and actually my pen is not working so well on this ink. So I think I'm just gonna go in with regular watercolor. All right, I'm gonna take my Payne's Gray. You could take black, Payne's Gray, whatever color you want. And I've got my size 0. I'm going in with just a little bit. Look how much better that looks. Yes. And then you want some little ears. Let me get that head a little bigger. You want some little ears. And then you could do this with your ink, or you could do it with your watercolor. You're just gonna make 2 little legs coming down, 2 little black legs. So it looks like these little guys are just staring at you. Oh. They're very cute. And you go ahead and put a little highlight in their face too if you want to, but right now I'm just gonna leave it like that. There. Cute. Looks like it needs something in the background. Maybe another fence, maybe some more trees. Let's go ahead and add some more trees. So I'm gonna take this color, and I'm just gonna do some little bushes back there. So I'm gonna add just like little whimsical little circles. Nothing too fancy. Okay. Like that. And then I'm gonna take my water. Actually, let me take my 0, since these are smaller. Add a little bit of water to it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them down a little bit and make like a shadow down here. Pull a little of that ink down into the grassy area so it makes like a shadow, because your sun or moon is shining this way, so your shadow would be over here. And now I'm going to add a little bit of ink. You could do ink, you could do white watercolor, just to add a little bit to these bushes so there's a little highlight on them too. Now if your bush here, if your little tree or bush or whatever you made, if it's still wet, it's going to bleed a little bit, but it's okay. What else? I'm going to add some little detail here in the front. So I'm going to do with my ink some little vines, just to give it a little bit more of depth to your painting. I'm going to add some little vines here, some little leaves. And you could do as many as you want. All right, so I went ahead and added a little bit more vining down here. You can add as much vining as you want. I wanted most of the hill covered. Let's see. And I added a little bit of white right in here, just my ink, a little bit right into in the moon there. And now I think I want to go ahead and add some little stars. So I'm just taking my ink and I'm adding little stars here and there. Make sure your sky is dry, otherwise it will bleed. You could take the back of your brush if you want to and do it on the back of your brush. I'm just choosing just to use the tip of the brush. And let's see what else. I think you could even start playing around with your collage at this time if you want to start adding some other pieces to it. Or I could maybe add another big, I'm almost thinking like a vine needs to be coming out like from here. Like one of these, but like this way. So it looks like you're all nice and close up. I'm gonna add some leaves, bigger. I think that looks good. All right, you can always go in and shadow that if you want to also, but I think I'm just gonna leave mine white. If you wanna add a little bit more white to your house, a little bit more detail, you could do that. And I think I'm gonna just leave my painting alone like this. I can always come back and add things to it later on, but I think for right now, I'm just gonna call this done. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I just wanted to show you a little bit more of the watercolor brush pens and how you can mix them with your regular watercolors and just create a beautiful little whimsical scenery. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, and you can also make a comment in the comment section if you want to see more videos like this one, and you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Have a great day. Bye.